Good evening. I'd like to call the January meeting of the Montgomery County Legislature to order, 6 o'clock. And clerk, can we have a roll call, please?
Legislator Elwood, Legislator Sweet.
Here.
Legislator Muehlbeck.
Present.
Legislator Headwell.
Present.
Legislator Fioriello.
Here.
Legislator Majewski.
Here.
Legislator Pep.
Present.
Legislator Kowalczyk.
Here.
Legislator Pollock.
Present.
All right, Legislator Muehlbeck, could you please lead us in our salute to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing as we recognize those who have passed away since our last meeting in government and related to our county operation and or who have been in the service. Mr. Joseph Pacino of Amsterdam passed away December 21st. He served with the U.S. Army from 1952 until his honorable discharge as sergeant in 1954. Robert Schlotzhauer, Jr. of Palatine Bridge passed away on January 9th. He was drafted into the United States Army in 1957, serving proudly until his honorable discharge in 1963. Theodore Dick of Amsterdam passed away on January the 16th. He served in the United States Army from 1964 to 1968. And Mr. Frank Wojnar Jr. of Amsterdam passed away on January the 20th. He proudly served in the United States Army. A moment of silence, please. Thank you. At this time, I would like to tell you that on January the 10th, our own Pat Beck was given an award at the Amsterdam Mohawks annual dinner. And at that time, a resolution was drawn up citing Pat and was presented, I attended the dinner, but it was presented by Megan. And really because of the order of the evening, really didn't even get a chance to read the whole proclamation because there was so much else on the agenda, and you know, Megan had to cut to the chase. So because of that reason, and because she's one of our own, and it is our custom to honor people with these proclamations at our own meeting, I would like to call Pat to the front of the room so that we can read for her and for all of you just what was in that proclamation. We would be remiss if we did not.
I was there, I did something and I left.
Now, let me tell you, Pat used to be, you'll hear this, she used to run the Leader Herald, she was the publisher, and she was the MC at every event in Fulton County. And she was like a Comedy Central roast when she was an MC. And she really started doing that again at this meeting. It brought back some good memories. Okay, whereas Pat Beck has served as a long time and respected member of the Amsterdam Mohawks organization beginning in 2015 in client relations for the past decade, volunteering her time and expertise as president of the Shuttleworth Park Foundation, playing a pivotal role in the preservation and enhancement of one of the community's most treasured historic assets. And whereas through her professionalism, expertise, and tireless dedication, Pat helped secure hundreds of thousands of dollars in funding for the Shuttleworth Park Foundation, with 100% of those funds invested directly into improvements and restoration efforts at Shuttleworth Park, ensuring progress without burdening the city of Amsterdam taxpayers. Whereas never seeking recognition or acclaim, Pat has been instrumental in the continued restoration of Shuttleworth Park, while also helping to establish long-term stability and a sustainable future for the foundation. And whereas in addition to her volunteer service, Pat Beck served for many years as the publisher of the Leader Herald and has been a respected leader in the regional business and civic community, contributing her time and insight through service on numerous boards and committees. And whereas after a lifetime of service, Pat Beck recently retired from many of her additional civic roles to find time for herself, but she leaves behind a legacy of leadership, generosity, and meaningful community impact. And whereas Pat Beck's dedication to the Amsterdam Mohawks the Shuttleworth Park Foundation, and the community as a whole exemplifies the spirit of volunteerism and public service honored by the Norbert Sherbun Community Service Volunteer Award. Now therefore be it resolved, County Executive Pete Drummond, Legislative Chairman Mike Pep, on behalf of the entire Montgomery County Legislature, hereby proclaim Saturday, January 10th, 2026 as the official date in Montgomery County to recognize and congratulate Pat Beck for the lasting impact she has left on Montgomery County throughout her dedication, leadership, and service. Pat, congratulations.
That is an official day now, we can all have it all. We'll add it to the contract.
Only if it's a Monday through Friday.
I just felt it was the right thing to do.
Of course.
You know, she is one of those, right?
Definitely. And it's well deserved. Yes.
And is well deserved. You wouldn't believe the number of organizations that Pat was not only on, but led. So, thank you, Pat.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, now for public comment and presentations. We have Corey Nellis from Soil and Water. Corey, please feel free to come on up, make yourself comfortable here.
You shouldn't say that.
Get
Martin used to drag me off the stage, and he's like, "Hey, all right, that's enough." So without him here, Bob, it's up to you.
Then not too comfortable.
We get a chair, we can make this. So I was asked by Pat to come tonight to discuss the Farmland Protection Reserve Fund. So I did make up some guidelines for that. But I have to do an annual report here and bring it to the board, so I did provide a brief overview of what we did for 2025. I put this in my budget packet every year also, but I thought it was a good opportunity to get up here and do our annual report to the Board of Legislature, know what we've accomplished this year. And I always concentrate on the money, and I always, I'm always told it's not always about the money, but so we had all the other things on there, but we did get $102,000 in CRF. $385,000 for a farm here for our CAFO program. $1.4 million in federal funds came in through the EQIP program. And then we received $570,000 through round 30. We're getting ready to apply for CRF again this year. And I just ran the numbers. We applied for about $3.6 million in CRF this year. Yeah, maybe we'll get one, maybe we'll get two. Maybe we always get one or two. So it'll be exciting to see what happens with that. The state's putting a lot more money into these conservation programs, these conservation initiatives. So, to see the money continue to grow, I think it's important that we bring that money and get the farmers in our county the opportunity to get that money into their farms. And, and I always try to stress the fact that when we bring this money into the county, this isn't money that just disappears. We're doing a $1 million manure store down Clinton Road right now. And we're getting ready to install about $2 million worth of practices here this spring. I just left a meeting with our engineers and our farmers to get the next project lined up on his farm. So, this money goes to Cranesville Block, our local employees. I counted the number of people in that manure store we were building. There was 18 guys working down there in that hole. So when we say we're doing a $1 million project, you got 18 employees down there that have been there for about 7 weeks, 8 weeks straight, working on that $1 million project. And that's with 2 different contractors, or 2 local contractors. So we're not bringing contractors out from New York City or anything. These are all local guys, and they're buying their materials from 7M, Curtis Lumber, from Cranesville Block. So I think it's important that when we talk about those dollars that we understand and recognize how that affects our local community. And so I strive hard to get that money into the county and get this money to our farmers and take advantage of those opportunities. And then some of the other stuff that we do, and of course this isn't everything we do, it's just some of the highlights. We got a hydro seeder, and we're in our 4th year with the hydro seeder. We're getting to the point where now the DPWs call us and tell us where they're digging and if we can hydro seed. I have people call me up, different highway superintendents. Hey, I had one where we had a complaint up on, say the roads don't need to throw people under the bus, but complaining because of the county dug it up, seeded it down, the seeding failed, and they want to know if there's any way we can go up there and throw some hydro seeding on there and turn it green. You know, so it's nice to get those calls and be able to go up there and remedy those situations. The town of Mohawk, they just built their new fire department. And we went up there and hydro seeded a couple acres up there. And we don't charge for those services, so when we hydro seed, it's just part of our program, our conservation efforts in the county, so.
Wonderful.
You know, we don't, the first year we called the county and said, hey, we want to hydro seed this. They said, well, what's it gonna cost? It's like, no. It's just one of our programs, is what we're doing. We try to do 1 mile, 2 miles, 3 miles of road ditch every year. You know, so we try to do these, take advantage of these dollars that the state sends us to bring them into the county. We also stock our ponds. We did 16,000 tree seedlings. We worked a lot on the golf course and the Burbine Forest, and a lot of trails up there and trail maintenance. And hopefully we'll be working in the town of Minden. I just have some calls on that. So I had to go in front of my board tomorrow at our meeting to work up there in the town of Minden and try to enhance the Waltz Road facility up there. So it's just some of the stuff that we're working on, some of the stuff that we do annually, and some of the efforts. Like I said, we applied for $3.6 million in CRF, and round 31 is out, and I'm probably going to have maybe $3 million in applications for that. And as you can see from my highlights, we applied for $800,000, we got $100,000. We applied for $2 million, we got $600,000. You know, so we don't get them all funded, but if you don't have your hat in the ring, you can't get anything. You know, so we strive really hard to get that for us.
Corey, how many tires you get rid of last year?
How many? What's that?
How many tires you get rid of last year?
Oh my goodness. So we do a tire recycling program where we take all the tires from anybody. So we have 2 programs, and one in the spring, one in the fall. The first one in the spring is just strictly agricultural landowners and implement tires, because we found out it's difficult for people to get rid of large truck tires, tractor tires. And I think that program had about $7,000 in tires, and then $15,000 in passenger car tires in the fall. So we did about $22,000. I do not know how many tons of tires, but it was about 6 or 7 tractor trailer loads of tires left the county. You know, when I get a phone call, I had a gentleman called me up and he said, hey, I just acquired a farm. I inherited the farm, and there's 2 truckloads of tires here. And I said, well, you're too late for the program, but you know, we're going to have this program in the spring. And he's like, well, I can't afford to get rid of all these tires, and so we don't charge. So you bring your load of farm tires. We don't, in the passenger car tire, we limit it to 25, but on the agricultural side, we don't put a limit on it. We just want to get them off the farms, get them out of the hedgerows, get them out from behind the barns, and just get them to the recycling facility where they can be taken care of. So we spent about $22,000 to get those tires out of Montgomery County and get them off to a recycling center. And we do that annually, so. Any other questions regarding the general program? So, on to the next purpose here is the Farmland Protection Fund. So last year, the county authorized $250,000 to be allocated to the Farmland Protection Reserve Fund. And now that money hasn't, well, it was passed in the budget. I'm not 100% sure how it would make it to my office. The resolution says it goes to soil and water for the implementation of conservation initiatives to support local agriculture. So I had a meeting with Economic Development last week, and then I had a meeting with our AED, Ag and Economic Development Committee, to go over some ideas on how the money would be spent, allocated, how it would be utilized. So we thought it was important. I talked to Pat, said, can you come and bring it in on Tuesday? So we didn't do a lot of time for pre-preparing. This was Friday. So here I am Tuesday at Pat's request here. So these are just an idea of how we could utilize those monies, where we could allocate the money, how we would spend the money. So if you guys allocate the money to soil and water, this would be programmatically how we would do it. So we have the MCAM system that we participate in with the county, and we also do our ag environmental management. Those 2 programs would probably be the basis of how we would allocate or disseminate any other funds that came in for these purposes.
Corey, forgive me, but if I'm not mistaken, you know, I was under, and I think everybody else, the impression that the $250 that came up for resolution towards the end of the year was specific to this revolving fund as it pertains to dissuading farmers from having solar come in, and we would get it back through some revolving money source as those properties where people chose to go solar and their tax rates went up would come back and replenish the fund.
Yes.
So I guess I'm a bit confused as to why you're speaking that this 250 would be used potentially for other purposes. I thought that was what it was for explicitly. And that's,
So when you say what it was for explicitly, the money that's taken back from the county, so the money that would be allocated to the Farming Reserve Fund would be spent exactly, what were you thinking? What was your?
I thought it was to incentivize farmers. No. Don't sell your farm to a solar place, and here's an incentive not to, coming out of that 250.
I participated in the very first meeting, probably over a year ago, regarding this clawback money from the, and it was always, actually,
That's the way that
the
resolution
question of the
read.
day was, how do we make sure that those guys, if you're selling your land to solar, that we invest the money in the people that aren't selling the solar? Because if you keep your farm and you sold half it to solar, do we want to give, do we want them to have the same opportunity to secure these funds? So it was kind of the opposite discussion was, we want to protect the guys that did not sell the solar, not incentivize them not to. How would you, they're getting $800 to $1,000, $1,400 an acre. How would we incentivize them not to without real, I mean, $250,000 is $250,000, a lot of money, but there would be no way with that, and I'm gonna call it a small amount of money, when you're selling, town of Glen here,
Well,
2,000 acres
yeah.
of land at $800 to $1,000 an acre, and we're supposed to talk them, use $250,000 to stop one farm, two farms, three farms. I don't see that has any practical capacity there.
Well, I'm here to tell you that the way the resolution was written, it didn't really indicate that this money, was something, we're gonna give you $250 every year so you could fund a bunch of programs. It was, the sole and most meaningful purpose of it was to dissuade the solar. So, and that's kind of the way the resolution was framed, just.
No, I read the resolution, I read it for the AD board, I read it at the economic development meeting. I don't know if Pat could put it up. It really was it said, and you could quote me on this if you got the resolution, to protect ag and farmland in Montgomery County. To protect and support by the viability of farmland in Montgomery County.
Yes.
So quite frankly, you tell me how you want to spend the money. If the money's allocated to my office, you tell me how you want to, what the intent of the money is. And, if.
I think we all thought we were funding a revolving fund.
Yes, I believe that is
was not going to be to throw benefits to farmers as much as it was to dissuade from the solar. So, Legislator Muehlbeck.
That's how I understood it also. And secondly, on the clawbacks, so how are we going to verify participation in clawbacks by the townships? I know that you've been working with certain assessors on that. What's the viability of funding coming back to be able to continue to fund this out of the clawbacks?
I worked last year, the county put, I don't even remember how much money the county put, so that I could hire an assessor to assist the assessors. And I'm not even gonna call it raise, it was not taken well at all. The assessors didn't want to participate, the assessors didn't want our help, they said they couldn't do the clawback because it was too much work, so the county put money in to help the assessors, to hire an assessors, and we hired somebody and I haven't sent a voucher to the county for any of that money because nobody asked for help. So, the assessors have the sole responsibility. There's no enforcement action by the county to say you have to do this. It's state law. So this is a state law, and it was from 1981. This is not a new law. This isn't something that we just decided that we're going to try to accomplish. This is a law that's been in effect since '81. And the clawbacks, quite frankly, if you do a 2-acre building lot, you're supposed to go back 3 years. So you might get $200 back, but there's a ton of paperwork. So I'm not sure that we've done any clawbacks in Montgomery County successfully. So the idea that you're going to go, these assessors are gonna get on board, because one of the assessors that does several towns says, I don't want the money going back to the county, I want the money coming back to my town where we can take advantage of it, because our town's one that's been destroyed. So is there a capacity for the county to enforce that law? I don't have that answer. And is that money ever going to come to fruition? I don't have that answer. But when I was given money for another program, I met with Matt Osborne and I said, how do you want this money allocated? What is your thought on this money? He said, you have successful programs, and you've done nothing but success in that county. And I know one thing, if we put the money in soil and water, it's gonna be allocated well, and it's gonna be managed well. He says, so I have confidence in you, I want you to take that, and I want you to build the program. So my job, if the county says, we're going to give you $250,000, and whether the county gives it to my office, doesn't give it to my office, my meeting here at Economic Development and with the AED was, if that money came to fruition, how would it be utilized? So I said, well, let's spitball here, and we did that.
Okay.
If the county came to me and said, all of this is for naught, this is not the intent of the program, you give me an outline of the program, and I will manage the program. So I'm coming to you from a blind perspective. I read the resolution. The resolution was to support local agriculture, the viability of agriculture, and the profitability of agriculture. So I said, well, I can come up with 3 or 4 strategies to utilize those funds.
Okay.
If the funds don't come to fruition, the program doesn't exist. If we can't replenish the program, it doesn't exist. If the money doesn't exist, the program doesn't exist. And if you do allocate the money, by resolution, your resolution is to support agriculture. Is that vague? Is it not vague? I think having that wide berth gives me the opportunity to develop a program, right? If you limit my scope, then you say, okay, we're only giving it to farms that could sell the agriculture or the solar, and this is what we want you to do.
Okay.
I want you to hire a lawyer, and I want you to attack solar. Okay, if that's what you want me to do with the money, I'm not restricted. One of the benefits of my office, I'm not restricted by unions. I can sign a contract with the county and do pretty much any kind of program that's conservation oriented. So if you have a program that needs to be done, and it doesn't matter, so I can work on private property, which is one of the rights that the county doesn't, the privilege the county doesn't have. So if I need to get off the road, I've been brought in by the county, can you do this 200 feet of ditching, can you get this done? I did a large project out in Sprout Brook, because the county can't work on private property, but it was negatively impacting the road, we did the whole ditch.
Okay.
So you tell me what you want to do, you give me the bumpers,
All right, we will formulate that. All right.
and this is just an idea of how we could utilize that funds, and maybe you look at this and say, no, none of this is plausible. Or you say, you know what, this is pretty good, take it and run with it, trust my management. I've been here 39 years. I don't think I've led the county astray yet.
Okay. No, you haven't. You've done an excellent job. You're great at your job. And, we appreciate it very much. I want you to know that.
I enjoy my job. I enjoy
You're great at
working
your
for
job.
Montgomery County farmers.
All right, thanks, Corey.
All right.
Appreciate your time.
And Victoria Bray, I would like to introduce Victoria. She's our AED specialist.
Victoria.
We have to do a presentation every year, so I said this is a great opportunity to introduce Victoria. We hired her in May.
Nice to meet you.
Hi. So as Corey said, I was hired in May. My name is Victoria Bray. I'm the Ag Economic Development Specialist for Montgomery County Soil and Water. I've been working with farmers since May, and I've seen firsthand how development pressure, farmland loss, fragmentation, they're all changing how farms operate. And the Farmland Protection Reserve Fund, as we read the resolution, we came up with this program as a way to help the farms that are still working become more viable. It helps them provides competitive cost share grants that'll help for marketing, value-added agriculture, and on-farm implementation projects. These are practical investments. They're helping farms improve market access, increase the income per acre, because we're losing all of those acres to solar development, strengthen their operations, and protect their soil and water that they do still have left. We came up with that program. You can review it and let us know, as Corey said, what you think. But the program is all about keeping farms working, families farming, and agriculture economically viable in Montgomery County while protecting the land and natural resources that make farming here possible. And it really is such a beautiful county because of that. As Corey said, we also have to do the AED report, which you should have in your papers that Corey gave out. I've been working a lot since May, learning about the county. I did originally come from Albany County, and then I was in Columbia County. I was born and raised there. So I've been working with farmers to apply for grants, such as the Dairy Modernization Grant. I've been working with Grow Amsterdam in Amsterdam to start the Grow Amsterdam Farmers Market. Applications are now open for that. If you want to apply, please reach out to me. I've been promoting Harvest Connection, which is an app that connects consumers directly to the farms. We have a ton of farm stores here in Montgomery County, and we're really proud of them. I've also been attending events with Taste New York to see how we can collaborate with them to get farm products into their facilities. In terms of community engagement and events, I helped with Sunday on the Farm this year. We had 3,200 plus attendees who were able to learn about local farms and farming. We also had the mobile dairy experience there where kids got hands-on learning, and Megan also milked a goat, if you didn't know.
Did you get that on video?
It is. I don't know video. We definitely have photos. I've also hosted a couple of different workshops. I did a home composting workshop where we distributed 2 compost bins to local families where they can learn, and they learned how to properly compost. I also did an Excel 101 for farmers, and that was actually in the Annex building, and a Burbine Forest Walk with the DEC Forester Tyler Levy. These had hands-on skills in environmental conservation education. I also worked with Brenda in the Department of Youth and Veteran Services on Youth Day. I was able to table there this year. And I'm working with her now to bring some of that farm and home safety days that we used to have in the county to Youth Day. I've been reaching out to different organizations to get that education back in the county. Lots of professional development and networking. I don't come from a farming background. My grandparents had a dairy farm, but I didn't grow up on it, so I didn't know. I've only ever heard stories. I've joined the local farm bureau as the Young Farmer and Rancher, and they've graciously allowed me to go to the Young Farmer and Rancher conference coming up in March, and I'll be going to that. I've attended agritourism conferences, NYACD conferences, and I'll be going to the Water Quality Symposium also in March, and been doing Annie's project, working with Cornells from our county and different counties to get more education back in the county. All in all, I want to say thank you so much for the opportunity to be here and speak with you and meet all of you. I'm really excited to continue to grow the AED program in Montgomery County.
Well, thank you, Victoria, and I can tell by your enthusiasm why Corey hired you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hopefully it translates to all these wonderful things. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All right, is there any other public comment? Yes, sir. Please step to the podium and state your name and what's on your mind.
Christian Rivera, Amsterdam, New York. I want to speak on...
Sir, your last name, clerk?
Rivera.
Thank you.
I want to speak on 2 main subjects. The first being the Amazon warehouse and the lack of basic workers' rights and protections. The second being the criminal impunity of U.S. presidents and really the federal government. This body must act on both of these issues. Politically, there's all kinds of verbiage spilled about the people while ignoring the environment and animals, the other 2 main components on this globe. Ignore the other 2 components, and we will not have any significant improvements for people. What affects one affects the other. The Amazon warehouse jobs, like Target, will start with copying identifications so that they can be stolen later. Then maybe a plant drug test. If hired, you enter the fence compound with barbed wire, which resembles a prison. You work 5 hours without a break, such as Target does. Thanks, New York State. If you survive your 12-hour shift, you will line up and have your lunch bag and maybe your person searched. Then you will exit the large, gated, environmentally barren compound. Amazon will likely be housing live and captive animals who are literally being tortured in confined spaces with no ethics limiting sales of any of their body parts. And of course, Amazon will do all it can to violate the weak federal rights to unionize. Does this sound like reasonable behavior or treatment of people, planet, or animals? I want this board to address these issues and more. Now let's turn to criminal impunity of US presidents. The US Constitution conveys impunity on the president during his term and allows him to appoint a supposed overseer, which ensures criminal impunity for the entire administration. So the Constitution is not perfect. The Republican Party completely resists international treaties such as the ICC, which would help convict war criminal presidents, US presidents, not to mention Israeli ones. Impeachment is a near meaningless because Republicans and Democrats work to protect the crimes of their presidents, senators, and Congress as a whole. The War Powers Act is a pro-US imperialist tool and is worse than the US Constitution with its lack of democracy at every level, whether it is the US Senate with its 6-year terms, lifetime appointed judges, and a plutocracy which guarantees no meaningful political change and lets all the money and land be monopolized. The first step to fixing the problem is admitting that you have one. I want this body to openly admit that criminal impunity for US presidents must be stopped and offer a solution to solve this problem. The people of this county should take up my demands on this issue, which are, first, admit that US imperialism is a problem. Admit this openly. Admit this publicly, and to every Republican and Democrat politician above you. Second, dispense with partisanship. Stop pretending your own presidents are not imperialist criminals. Third, recognize that approximately half of the US federal debt of $38 trillion is due to war spending. And that sounds crazy, but I can substantiate that. It has to do with what actually causes the debt, not outlays. Fourth, recognize that the US drug war is a tool of US imperialism created to attack the foreign and domestic population. So we're attacking our own population, not to mention the rest of the globe. Given this reality, I want a statement approved by this county body demanding the immediate freedom of the democratically elected president of Venezuela, an immediate end to the blockade of Venezuela and Cuba, and all sanctions removed against Venezuela. A denouncement of U.S. imperialism demanding a mechanism to criminally prosecute U.S. presidents while in office and calling for the legalization of the cocoa leaf. It is a leaf, which is a superfood and has many uses. This plant has been here on this continent before Europeans ever arrived and is a gift to humans. This letter must be sent to the governor, state and federal politicians in all districts, and to the war criminal president of the United States, Donald Trump. We do not have a democracy, we have a plutocracy. We do not have justice, we have criminal impunity.
Thank you, Christian. All right, is there anybody else who would like to make public comment? If not, clerk, are there any communications?
There are none.
All right. A motion from the floor to accept the minutes?
I'll make a motion.
Second. All right.
I didn't hear who.
Legislator
Cadwell.
Adwell and Legislator Pajewski.
Thank you.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Passed.
A motion for the acceptance of the budgetary transfers.
So moved.
Second.
Legislator Sweet and Kowalczyk. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Passed.
Motion to accept the procurement record.
So moved.
Legislator Muehlbeck, Legislator Pollack. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Passed.
Under old business, Legislator Headwell contacted me last week with a concern, and he had a good concern that, there was a legislative breakfast last week, and we were sponsors at it, and as evidenced by a Facebook post and of an accompanying picture. And wondered, if we had been invited to this, and I told him I was. I got an individual email from the chamber. Did anybody else get that email?
I did.
You did.
I think I
Anybody else?
received it, yeah.
Okay, nobody else. So, I've asked Clerk Beck to contact the chamber, express our discontent, and ask them to, make sure they have all our email addresses and invite us to all these things going
If
forward.
I may.
Yes.
I did contact the chamber today. I spoke with the new head of the chamber. I supplied her with all of the emails and contact information, not your personal ones, but the ones from the county. So she has all of those.
Okay. And, as Legislator Headwell pointed out to me, we were sponsors in some way, shape, or form of this event. And, it would have been, I physically could not be there. I was in Syracuse and wasn't able to go. Now, the CEO of the hospital is now chairman of the chamber board, Jeff Methvin. And totally unsolicited, he sends us an email every Friday, tells us what he did that week. And he talked about the legislative breakfast, and he, believe it or not, Bob, said, local turnout for politicians was light, and I want to change that. So he's, it had nothing to do with me asking Pat to call the chamber. He recognized that on his own. So hopefully we have that addressed by next January, and for any other chamber-related events.
Mike, can I comment?
Sure.
Maybe in the future, there's a lot of events that go on. Maybe there's some way that we can talk with themselves and say, you couldn't make it, but, who else is gonna go? Just kind of
Sure.
put something out there as a feeler so that, if someone can go, someone can't go, who's gonna go, who's gonna, just so that we can make a better representation,
Absolutely.
Because there's a lot of things that happen and come up, and maybe I get something, I can send it to Pat saying, hey, Pat, I was invited to this, is anyone else? I'll give you an example, the judges have their luncheon in the near future.
May for,
You know,
law day or whatever.
It's the same thing, they're having their luncheon, and it's, starts at 12, it's done at 1. Is there anybody that's gonna go? Does anybody wanna go? That kind of, just get the information out.
Absolutely, and I couldn't agree with you more, and especially if we're gonna be a sponsor, but we should be there anyway, and to an event like this, and so hopefully, I appreciate you bringing that up last week.
Chair,
Yes, sir.
one other thing, as we're talking about emails,
Yeah.
what's the update on, do you have any update from Dan on?
No update from the other day, really, where I spoke to him the next day after we talked, and I told him to do an email to tell, countywide, to tell everybody where we are and how to handle problems. I don't know why it's still rocky like that. I'm not an IT guy, and I have to depend on him, but he's very aware of it, and that was a week ago we talked,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
I don't understand the transition, but I'm not an IT guy. But I know what that problem is.
With that coming to mind, did everybody get that email about the state of the county from Morgan? Did anybody get that?
I did. The second time.
No, but I mean the first one that went out on January 12th, I think it was. Yeah, none of us got it, so that's why,
Right, so there is an issue, and I'm hoping that
And the sheriff too, the sheriff sent us his annual report, we didn't get it.
Ken's having probably
Yeah.
issues too, especially his department, he's got state money possibly coming in.
Yes.
On a time frame, and if you don't receive it, or you don't know that you received it, that's not a good thing. So I think it's a pretty high priority that we get this thing straightened out.
I'll speak with him again.
Yeah. I agree, just because now I'm afraid of what we haven't gotten, in the meantime.
What have we missed?
Yeah,
Right.
because, and the sheriff, he's we want to see what he's got to say as soon as it comes out, right? And anybody, any department head, for that matter, but, okay, thank you. All right, under new business, I'd like to accept a motion from the floor to alter the agenda for 4 add-ons.
Make a motion?
All right, legislators Sweet and Kowalczyk, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Passed.
All right, on to our resolutions. Resolution number 9, authorizing county executive to sign the 2026 insurance renewal contract for Montgomery County Sanitary District Number 1 and amending the 2026 operating budget. Sponsors were legislators Fiorello and Sweet. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Passed.
Resolution 10, approving the payment terms and conditions of a certain pilot agreement to be entered into between Montgomery County Industrial Development Agency and Madre Nelliston LLC in connection with the proposed Madre Nelliston LLC project. Sponsors were legislators Pep and Kowalczyk. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Passed.
Resolution 11, reappointing Montgomery County Director for the Capital District Regional Off-Track Betting Corporation. Sponsors were legislators Sweet and Kowalczyk. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Passed.
Resolution 12, authorizing county executive to sign engineering service agreement for Rappa Road Bridge Replacement, bin 330-9870. Sponsors were legislators Pep and Kowalczyk. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Passed.
Resolution 13, amending the 2026 operating budget. Sponsors were legislators Kowalczyk and Headwell Jr. I have some discussion. We need to amend the second whereas line to the rate of $150 per case. That was as disclosed by Nicole. The non-bargaining does say $129 per case. However, the position had not been filled in years and therefore it had not been updated. So, and also we need in the account number for the increased appropriations, the account number is A-29-4-1185. So those two minor adjustments,
Do we need a motion to amend?
yes.
I'll make the motion.
All right. And legislators Headwell and Sweet. Any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Passed.
And now on the resolution itself as amended. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Passed.
All right, resolution 14, authorizing county executive to enter into an agreement with Confidential Screening and Consulting LLC for occupational health, safety, and drug and alcohol testing services. Sponsors were legislator Muehlbeck and Kowalczyk. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Passed.
Resolution 15, authorizing acceptance of family-centered case management services, funding and approving a contract with Captain Community Human Services. Sponsors were legislators Sweet and Muehlbeck. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Passed.
Resolution 16, establishing a commissioner's revolving account pursuant to social services law. Sponsors were legislators Headwell Jr. and Peck. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Passed.
Resolution 17, establishing the adult and children's SPOA operating policies. Sponsors were legislators Muehlbeck and Fiorello. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Passed.
Resolution 18, authorizing the Montgomery County Health Department to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Montgomery County Sheriff's Department. Sponsors were legislators Pep and Headwell. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Passed.
Resolution 19, amending the 2026 operating budget, carry over 2021-2022 statewide interoperable communications grant program. Sponsors were legislators Headwell and Pep. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Passed.
Resolution 20, amending the 2026 operating budget, carry over the fiscal year 2024 State Homeland Security Program grant funds. Sponsors were legislators Sweet and Elwood. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Passed.
Resolution 21, amending the 2026 operating budget, carryover grant 2022 statewide interoperable communications grant targeted program. Sponsors were legislators Kowalczyk and Fiorello. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions.
Passed.
Resolution 22, amending the 2026 operating budget, gifts and donations. Sponsors were legislators Sweet and Kowalczyk. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions.
Passed.
Resolution 23, amending the 2026 operating budget, carry over the fiscal year 2023 Domestic Terrorism Prevention Grant Program grant funds. Sponsors were legislators Muehlbeck and Pep. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions.
Passed.
Resolution 24, amending the 2026 operating budget, carry over 2024 Public Safety Answering Point Grant Program. Sponsors were legislators Kowalczyk and Muehlbeck. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions.
Passed.
Resolution 25, amending the 2026 operating budget, carry over an EMS RFA 2024 County Emergency Medical Services Support Grant. Sponsors were legislators Sweet and Elwood. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions.
Passed.
Resolution 26, amending the 2026 operating budget, carry over 2024 statewide interoperable communications grant program. Sponsors were legislators Pep and Headwell Jr. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions.
Passed.
Resolution 27, appointing members to the Traffic Safety Board. Sponsors were legislators Muehlbeck and Kowalczyk. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions.
Passed.
Resolution 28, amending the 2026 operating budget, carry over fiscal year 2022 State Hazardous Materials Grant Program. Sponsors were legislators Kowalczyk and Muehlbeck. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions.
Passed.
Resolution 29, authorizing county executive to sign an agreement with Montgomery County Sanitary District Number 1 for the treatment and disposal of leachate from the landfills located in Montgomery County. Sponsors were legislators Sweet and Fiorello. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions.
Passed.
Resolution number 30, appointing member to the Montgomery County Sanitary District Number 1 Board of Directors. Sponsors were legislators Sweet and Headwell Jr. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions.
Passed.
Resolution 31, confirming appointments to the Montgomery County Soil and Water Conservation Board of Directors. Sponsors were legislators Muehlbeck and Pep. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions.
Passed.
Resolution 32, amending Resolution 147 of 2025. Sponsors were legislators Kowalczyk and Sweet. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention.
Passed.
Resolution 33, appointing members, Economic Development Advisory Committee Agriculture. Sponsors were legislators Pep and Muehlbeck. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions.
Passed.
Resolution 34, confirming appointments made by the county executive. Sponsors were legislators Sweet and Pep. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention.
Hang on 1 second, please. Abstentions. Any?
None, but there was one.
I got that.
Okay.
Passed.
Okay. All right. Resolution number 35, confirming the appointment of the county executive for a representative to serve on the Greater Mohawk Valley Land Bank Board. Sponsors were legislators Kowalczyk and Sweet. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions.
Passed.
Resolution 36, appointing member Montgomery County Law Library Board of Trustees. Sponsors was legislators Sweet and Pep. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions.
Passed.
Resolution 37, appointing a member of the legislature to Cornell Cooperative Extension of Full Montgomery Counties Association Board of Directors. Sponsors were legislators Muehlbeck and Sweet. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions.
Passed.
Resolution 38, appointing member Montgomery County Jury Board. Sponsors were legislators Pep and Kowalczyk. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions.
Passed.
Resolution 39, appointing members of the Montgomery County Agriculture and Farmland Protection Board. Sponsors were legislators Muehlbeck and Elwood. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions.
Passed.
Resolution 40, approving the abstract of audited claims. Sponsors were legislators Kowalczyk and Fiorello. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions.
Passed.
Resolution number 41, amending the 2026 operating budget, carryover 2025 New York State fiscal year 2025 Next Generation 911 Grant Program. Sponsors were Kowalczyk and Fiorello. Legislators Kowalczyk and Fiorello. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions.
Passed.
All right, on to our first add-on resolution.
Give me 1 second. Okay.
Resolution authorizing county executive to enter into a contract with Ellis Medicine. Do I have a sponsor?
I'll sponsor.
Legislators Headwell Jr. and Majewski. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions.
Passed.
Our next add-on, amending the 2026 operating budget and establishing a correction officer position. I'll sponsor that. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, legislator Elwood. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions.
Passed.
Our next add-on, authorize the county executive to sign agreement with Nextera for the purchase of our next renewal of gas supply. I'll sponsor that. Do I have a second? Legislator Pollock. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions.
Passed.
And our final add-on resolution, amending the resolution 287 of 2025. Do I have a sponsor?
I'll sponsor.
Legislator Majewski, Legislator Fiorello. Discussion.
What was resolution 287?
Was
Megan,
the
can you?
resolution
Our
on Gallagher.
insurance, for any of our insurance, it said 2025 in the last result, which is said 2026. It says 2026 earlier in the voting, and to clarify.
So just the date.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions.
Passed.
All right, at this time, I have one other piece of business, and that's why the president of the college is here, Mr. Gregory Truckenmiller. I wanted us to all get out in front of this, and I obviously won't be here next month. Maybe something we choose to act on next month, I don't know. Mr. Truckenmiller is meeting with the Fulton County Board of Supervisors Finance Committee on Thursday about this. I'll give a brief outline. Their boilers are not in great shape. They are incapable of being repaired if they break down, and I'm sure Greg will expound on this. So they are consequently in a situation where they need to purchase boilers for the campus. As you know, we're a co-county sponsor with Fulton County. Total project cost is $3.2 million. 3.3. He already has a commitment from the state for half of it, and is looking for the other half to be split between Fulton County and Montgomery County, which would mean $830,000 per county towards this. Greg called me about this afternoon. I said, why don't you come on in? Our finance committee is a committee of the whole. This is good for all of our ears. Certainly expressed some preliminary concern, and the catch is this. Greg has offered, as you know, our capital plan calls for $250,000 a year to go to the college for various projects there. Greg said our 250 this year, our 250 next year, this would be applied to that, and he wouldn't ask for money for anything else. And I said, what about 2028? You know, that gets us up to 750 and gets us closer to the number. He indicated that County Administrator Stead indicated to him some rough plan that he thought perhaps he could sell to his board about doing it for 2 years. I have a concern about that myself, just because of the impact it would have on our fund balance. So, Greg, you know, so this is what we're looking at. It's an $830,000 ask. In my mind's eye, I see us dedicating our $250 a year the next 3 years toward it, in lieu of other campus-related capital improvements. And of course, that's subject to discussion. And that way, you know, the new money ask really is about $80,000 beyond what we would pay them in 26, 7, and 8, and therefore making it more palatable. I did call Ken immediately thereafter, saying, you know, how can we possibly do this? Because right now, if we were to just say, okay, let's take it out of fund balance, instead of 250, which is already in the budget, you know, we'd have to take the difference out, which obviously is almost 400, you know, well, you get the idea, right? Or not 400, but $600,000. So, Greg, with that frame job, why don't you come on up to the microphone and explain the, you know, the mechanics, no pun intended, of the situation, and as to why you want to make this move now, despite the fact that they're not broken yet, and from any other blank you want to fill in.
Thank you, sir, and for all the new legislators, I'm happy to meet you, and I apologize that this is how we're meeting. This is obviously not the first discussion I'd like to have with you, but thank you for that overview. You did a really great job. I think our wires crossed just a tad bit, because what Mr. Stead had suggested is exactly what you were suggesting. So 3 years.
Oh, good.
Correct. Yep.
Perfect.
So yep.
Then we are on the same page in that regard.
Correct. Yep. So back in '22, both counties committed some funds to look at the conditions, the site conditions at the college, and one of the, you can see this, some of you have copies of this, centralized boiler plant was identified as a concern. And at the time, there was also questions about whether or not we could decentralize it, or, you know, whether we had to stay with the existing structure of a centralized boiler plant, which is original to the campus. So it's now 59 years old. And certainly we know that whatever we replace it with isn't going to last 59 years, which is a shame. But so with this in mind, that we knew that this had been identified, this year's capital project that you had already approved, the 250 that you already approved, was supposed to go toward the boiler plant. We, back in the spring, we met with Centrica Business Solutions, who I believe the county has worked with on a few projects. Fulton County has also worked with them. And the intent was to try to utilize an energy performance contract to allow us to with that 250 from you, 250 from Fulton, and 500 from the state, get that centralized boiler plant upgraded. So we commissioned them to come in and do their audit, and it took them a long time. They were very thorough. They were supposed to have this information to us by October, and we got it 2 weeks ago. And which is why I'm here tonight, and why we're this isn't the way that we normally do things. What they identified was that there was no possible way for that $1 million capital contribution that we could upgrade the boiler plant through their programs where you're essentially keeping your energy spend the same and you funding the savings to pay for that capital improvement. The chair alluded to the fact that one of our boilers can no longer be repaired. That was another thing that happened during the course of the year. We have 2 large boilers. Boiler number 2 is no longer able to be retubed. It's the last time that they cut it open and retubed it. They said no more, the welds will no longer hold. It's no longer safe for you to repair that boiler. It is functioning today, as is boiler 1. Boiler 1 just got 2 new tubes. They haven't told us we can't continue to repair that, but what we do know is that we can't heat the whole campus with just one boiler. So if boiler 2 goes down, we're in a precarious situation. So one of the reasons that we're here tonight, instead of saying, okay, well, we know this is a problem and we got to address it at some point, is that we do have pricing locked in. And if we can make a decision by the end of March, we can, move forward and have the boilers replaced before the next heating season starts. That said, we always have the opportunity to just cross our fingers and hope that the boilers continue to function. And then at the point at which they fail, I will be here saying the boilers have failed and now we don't have a choice and we need to do something. We do know that the temporary boiler systems, if we have to bring one in, range between $25,000 and $40,000 a month to heat the physical plant. We know that any time that you have to do emergency work, the cost of the labor is typically 2 to 3 times what it is in a planned installation. We also know that the cost of the material, the equipment is no longer negotiable and also not necessarily what you want, it's what's available. So we're trying to avoid those situations, but honestly, we're the caretakers of this property for both counties, and you ultimately are the decision makers, and you will need to make the decision on whether or not you want to continue to see how it goes, or if you want to be proactive and replace that equipment now. I've had some questions already for some preliminary conversations at Fulton County. Questions like, do you have to replace both boilers? The short answer is it would not be a good investment for us to try to piece together repairs to this system. It is the original system that was designed in the 60s to work together, and equipment today wouldn't necessarily, you could definitely, we buy parts for it all the time, but if you were going to buy a new deaerator, for example, it wouldn't necessarily work down the road when we actually have to replace the boilers. We don't currently have an automatic feed system, so the chemical feeds that we do now are manual, and it works for what we do, but that's not how a modern system works. What's been proposed as well is not replacing with 2 huge boilers, but 3 smaller boilers. That not only gives you the redundancy, but also, if one of them goes down, you can still, carry the load with 2, and it's much less expensive to deal with that. So the other piece of this is anytime that we go to do anything with the boiler system, we're going to have to do asbestos abatement. So, you don't want to have to pay for that multiple times. You probably want to pay for that once. There will be efficiencies in terms of, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that we're going to save so much money from energy from a new boiler system that it pays for itself, because I know it doesn't. I mean, it's not with not with what we have and the way that we have it. So anyway, I mentioned this earlier. We did look at what decentralizing would look like. We have solid estimates from Trophy Point, and it was approximately double what the cost to replace the central boiler plant was. So it was an additional, according to their estimates, which are now 3 years old, it was going to be an additional $3.1 million on top of that. So Also, I will tell you that the 2022 estimates that we got to replace the boiler plant were 2.7 million. Now that's 3.3 million. So again, waiting longer, it then becomes a bigger ask down the road. So the other, just the other point that I want to make is there is an opportunity with this to actually accomplish $4.8 million worth of work, because we can combine this with an energy performance contract and get additional components completed, get the steam traps replaced, get the electrical generators, transformers, replaced. All the interior lighting would be replaced. Air handler units would be refurbished that we have. So there's additional work that could be completed as part of the energy performance contract that doesn't cost you any additional dollars. So we would, if we only do the boiler, it's 3.3, there's no energy performance contract, there's no savings. If we tag on to the energy performance contract, we do have the opportunity to get about another additional $1.5 million. That isn't going to be, the counties aren't going to be contributing to that. That's, you asked me earlier if we had any skin in the game. This allows us to take the savings where there are savings, so changing out the electrical transformers, many of which are still original to the campus. So Legislator Sweet can tell you how much energy they're drawing just sitting there doing nothing versus the modern transformer. And same thing with our lighting. A lot of our lighting is it's not original, but it's not LED, it's not getting the kinds of savings. And through the energy performance contract, we would be able to have a net neutral budget, operating budget, but still get to do that extra $1.5 million. That's all kind of just
How does that get paid for, though?
through the savings. So with,
okay.
yeah, so we enter into an agreement with National Grid. Centrica guarantees the savings. So even if we don't meet those savings goals, those are guaranteed. And then that spend, that amount of savings pays off that extra
Yeah,
work.
that part we didn't talk about today, but
Right, because it's not really,
doesn't affect us.
it doesn't. The number's the same no matter what. I mean, it's 3.3 million, so 830 and change from each county. And as the chair outlined, we recognize, I think our trustees recognize the size of the ask, and, we would defer any planned projects for the next 3 years, just to be able to recognize, what this means to the both counties.
In that respect, you have a little skin in the game.
Yeah, and I will also tell you, I think I mentioned this to the chair, but, the suggestion was not only no capital increases, but no operating increases as well.
That's right, I forgot to mention that.
Right, and that was part of our 3-year plan that we were looking at as well. So, we wouldn't be coming to you with hat in hand saying, gosh, we need another 50,000 here, another, now, having said all that, if there's an emergency, something that isn't planned, I can't guarantee that we wouldn't be back asking to address that. But it's, we're not going to come and ask you to, do something that we've identified in our plan that we worked with both counties on, just because we recognize how big of an ask this is.
Greg, when they did the survey of your heating system,
Yes.
did they find any problems with the infrastructure in the individual buildings
So
that would need to be addressed soon, or is it?
the short answer is, it's mostly things like fittings. So there's fittings that are leaking that need to be replaced. There's about 56 linear feet of insulation that needs to be installed that for some reason got removed at some point and never put back. So there's those kinds of things. And then there's the nice to haves that we would, hopefully we would address through the energy performance contract. I would say 80% of our steam traps are either forced open or are clogged and aren't so they need to be addressed. And this, the EPC is a way to do that, but it isn't critical to this, and we would certainly gain more comfort and more more efficient circulation if those things happened.
Right.
But the EPC also addresses the primary chiller for the campus. So it's going to replace the chiller, which is close to, it's about 26, 27 years old. So it's going to, bring us, and that does help feed the savings on the energy performance side.
Right, yeah.
Greg, hypothetically, when would the project happen if it was funded?
If it was funded, it would start, they would place orders in March. They would seek to do the installation of the boiler during the non-heating season, have it prepared for the heating season. They would likely start the chiller and those things during the heating season.
No, I asked Greg, about the skin in the game question in the phone call today, any chance you can borrow some of this? And they can't. They don't have a borrowing, you're not allowed to, really.
Correct.
One other thought, discussing this before the meeting, foundation. Can the foundation funnel you any money towards this? Just to help minimize the brunt on the counties?
So the foundation does not have a ton of unrestricted funds. So most of their money is restricted by the donor for specific purposes. So, and I will tell you that the vast majority of that is scholarships. So they will, right now they're doing the turf field project. They did targeted fundraising for that project. So they, went out and solicited donations for that. In terms of just unrestricted dollars.
Just a question.
Yeah, I'm ballparking it, they probably have about $60,000 in unrestricted
All right, that's
funds.
chunk change when it comes to this.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. Anybody have any other questions for Greg on the nature of the project?
One question.
Yes, sir.
Parts. It's hard to get them now. Is there potentially any delays that pushes this out where there's going to be emergency work that needs to happen, which changes the contract or costing?
So the pricing right now is fixed through the 8th of March. So it is, I don't know how they do it, but it's the pricing is locked in through the 8th of March. And the county attorney can probably explain this to all of us better than I can, but through the energy performance contract, since that's under state contract, they don't, we don't have to go out, they brought in 5 different, they invited 6, they got 5 contractors to come in and bid on this. But we don't have to advertise for bids, we don't have to award those bids, that's all handled through this arrangement that they have with National Grid and with, that apparently has been, again, I don't know the intricacies of the law on that, but.
So the state bid it out?
Yeah.
So you're piggybacking off the state contract, basically?
Apparently. Apparently. I know I had the college attorney review the documents, and he worked also with our insurance people, and so that they were all familiar with this sort of arrangement and vetted it. But yeah, so assuming nothing goes wrong in the next couple of months, we should be fine with at least the dollars that we're asking for.
Greg, earlier you said, as long as I know by the end of March.
Correct.
So, and then you just said the pricing is good through March 8th.
Right, so the orders have to be placed for fabrication and by the end of March. The pricing is fixed through March 8th. So
3.3.
3.8.
3.8. Thought you said
Oh, I'm sorry, 3.3 million, yes, sorry, yes. Thought you were talking about the date. Sorry. A lot of threes out there, that's right. So the 3.3 is guaranteed through March 8th.
So if we were going to do this, we would have to come up with a plan and approve it during a February meeting.
Yes, sir.
That's why I wanted to do this now, just so we could get it all out on the table. And once Greg is done, I want to talk. That's why I have Ken here. I mean, just let's bounce some ideas off of each other. Greg, you're all set there? Okay.
Unless there are other questions.
Okay. Now, I mean, for us to, in the month of February, remember you're talking about your United Way fund balance thermometer?
That's why I brought up in the very beginning about when we talked about the work here in the county and using 1 million out of our fund balance to do it.
Yeah.
And I said,
In
maybe
case.
we should, look at each project and determine, because we have $1 million set aside for projects, and we can say, you know what, maybe we're not gonna spend all $1 million, we spend 500, and then we use a little bit of that money to do this, and it doesn't hit us that, That's why I said, we shouldn't just open that checkbook up and say, everybody, let's just spend.
Right.
Because let's
Well-
take this carefully.
Well, thank goodness it's happening now when the money isn't spent. But, your point was well taken. That's why I called Kenya. I mean, what I was thinking out loud, and it's just an idea, I like this even better if we can find something on that scoreboard that we can do without, and add to this. But I sure as hell don't want to take a 600 and, a 500, whatever, $80,000, I can't even do the math in my head here, hit out of fund balance, 600,000. Don't want to do that. So my idea was, we're already going to give them 250. Maybe we give them 4 and borrow 430 or something over 3 years. That way it doesn't affect our cash flow as, mightily. And, but, obviously, if we can glean it from someplace else. Ken, can you just go back over those, our agenda of capital items?
Yeah, Chair, for 2026, you guys got 1.3 million comes from fund balance.
Right.
250 of that is the FMCC capital project contribution. The 550,000 is for facility upgrades. That's kind of been consistent over the past few years.
Our own facility.
Your own facilities, and then the other one that stayed consistent, well, actually, previous year was 300,000 is DPW equipment purchases. We knocked that up to 500,000 this year, so there is some potential wiggle room.
But not for the whole kit and caboodle.
But not for the whole shop.
If we take the grade all out, which we have 3 or
Yeah.
4, then we're almost 100% good.
Yeah.
When you look at it.
Yeah, no, we are. And then
and if we
then it's
really-
only 100 out of fund
And
balance.
if we need to grade all that bad, we pick up the phone, we call the other towns up and say, hey, we need your help, instead of us just going,
So what would the consensus be among the group here?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So
Legislator
Kevin,
Muehlbeck.
on the facilities upgrades, do we have a schedule of what those are and what the likelihood is of those?
Yeah.
And what is required and what is not? As in, like, we need it, or this would be a nice to have?
Yeah, 'cause you weren't here at the time, I don't think, when we were going through this. So for the 550 on the building maintenance, these are the items that the DPW commissioner listed out. County annex building windows were part of that, phase 1 air conditioning, and then the replacement of a generator at the county office building. Those were the 3 priorities in that 550 for this year.
I think I'd like to keep that in there.
yeah,
Personally, I think, because those are, but that's just my opinion.
The only thing is, with the generator,
Yeah.
but,
What if that blows, you know what I mean?
yeah, if it blows, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
So,
The grade all is how much?
For the equipment, the DPW commissioner had 500,000 specifically for the grade all purchase. So that was the full 500,000. He had noted in his request that only 2 of the departments for grade all for operation. That's what he has did,
we just put like $60,000 or $70,000 into a grade
Into
all
one of them, yeah.
back a long time, that was the 4th one, or the 3rd or 4th one, so I don't know what's, But again, every town has got grade outs, at least one or two. I mean, and
Well, I'm gonna start with you, Legislator Elwood. I know this is, well, you know what, let me start with Legislator Sweet. We'll let some of the new people get some opinion here from some of the people who've been around for a while.
I think, first of all, we should see if the grade out is a necessity. Obviously, boilers, in my opinion, are more of a necessity than a grade out.
Sure.
Especially if towns locally close have one that we could use or borrow or whatever. So that would be my approach. I hate to do that, but it was unforeseen.
Right.
So.
Right, we gotta make a
If we
move.
have, you know, if we had boilers that we could borrow,
Yeah.
other towns, we, you know, but that's not the case. So, you know, I think that's probably the first step. Find out who has equipment that we could use if it becomes to an emergency, and maybe ask Eric, do we use 3, 4 grade outs all summer long, or do you just use 2 and you have backups?
Mhm.
So,
What do you, Ken, do you have any inside knowledge on that?
No, the other two, just so, you know, the new legislators are aware too, I mean, the ones that we mentioned right here were fund balance, taken directly from the current fund balance. The other two big ones out here, I think we probably would, I know that, DPW Commissioner has been in discussions with the other counties, is we had 1.5 million in borrowing, and that's for the Eastern landfill leachate project, so I think we probably want an update from DPW Commissioner on that. And then the other one, which I think we all deemed was critically important, it has to be done this year, was $1 million in borrowing from the correctional facility locks. So I think we definitely have to leave.
but we can't touch that money because it was bonded for those projects, so we can't change the scope of those.
But we did, you guys didn't approve those bonding, that bonding resolution from the county treasurer will come up either next month or the month after. Which
Okay.
we'll change that to showers instead of locks.
All right, well then, Ken, can we kind of use you as a linchpin in this here? I mean, from a standpoint of making a determination after discussing with Eric, because we're looking for wiggle room, right? You know, I mean, I'm not gonna be here next month, but we gotta get this thing through some way, somehow. It is our obligation to do this for the college. So, I mean, I would just think if we can maximize the amount, we already had 250 committed. If we can get, you know, 300,000-400,000 out of the capital plan, you know, and only have to take 100 or 200 out of the fund balance to make this work, you know, I think that's, you know, a good idea. Now, Maria and Michelle, what do you think?
I agree that if we can find the money from other spots, it's a big hit at the beginning of the year to go into fund balance.
Yeah.
So I would be okay with checking with Eric to see, is this absolutely a necessity, and can he get along with the 2 that he has?
I would see if he could come in to the next meeting, or
Well,
during community meetings, or.
It's gonna, we almost need a resolution
sooner than.
on the table.
Yeah.
So I think we need structure to it before, you know, we debate it over a resolution though.
The other thing, Chair, is that the sheriff just mentioned a different idea for the correctional facility. Maybe more pressing.
I think we should, the showers were recently addressed from the state. That's just something we've been kicking the can down the road for 7 years, so.
Weren't there issues though with the locks and their availability?
Yes.
And nobody can find parts for them anymore, and that was urgent as well?
Yes.
Which one is more urgent, the showers?
Yes, because it's been identified.
And what was the number on the showers, Ken?
We don't have one. We went out to RFP and couldn't get a contractor to bid, so we have to start over from scratch.
But what number did we have in the capital plan?
I have to go back.
Oh, all right, okay. Chad, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised at 60 years. Is it,
Yeah.
you know, so we're on borrowed time as it is.
Yeah.
And, you know, if the Fulton County wants to give half of it, I think we should do half as well. But
It's usually
the only other option would be to borrow money
Right.
on top of that, but how does that look?
Well,
Is this bondable?
huh?
Is this
Yes,
bondable?
yes. I mean, if we can limit the difference to 200,000 or
I
less.
agree with
Which
you.
start-
there.
You know what I mean? I think we can squeeze 200 out of fund
And if we
balance,
can't,
you
then
know.
I think we need to look at the other
Yeah.
option.
Legislator Fiorello, any opinion?
I think that makes sense. Fulton County are agreed or no?
Yeah.
I'm meeting with them on Thursday, and that's the other thing. I will have direction from them by Thursday, so I can communicate that to the chair. I mean, if they just flat out say no, that can.
We're off the hook.
Till
This
they
can't
all-
be like
till they all
decided,
break down.
unfortunately.
What happens then? What happens then?
Then it rolls back into an emergency situation where, you know, if the boilers fail, then we will come to the two sponsors and ask how they want to handle it.
Which could cost more.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, that's
Then the price is double.
Right.
Legislator Elwood?
So for the 3 years, the 250 that's committed for each year, that would be the total. So we're looking at like 130, right? 'Cause
Well,
there's
that's 750 to 830, so about 80,000.
about 80,000.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, if you can take the funds for like this grade all and move them, I don't see why that wouldn't be an issue, because this seems more like a prominent issue with the boilers than an extra grade all.
Unless you run the DPW department.
Yeah.
Very
No,
true.
well, because if he's watching now, he's probably pounding the table. Yes, Legislator Muehlbeck.
So we were talking about kicking the can down the road, right? You know, I don't think we're taking the Gradle off, just not this year.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
if we explain it to Eric in, hey, this is an emergency, we
Yeah.
need to do this, the
Yep.
children who go there are more important.
And keep in mind, for the next 2 years,
Sorry, Eric.
that college 250
Right.
won't be in the capital
Right,
plan.
exactly.
It'll be void of it.
It'll be void of it,
You
so
know.
we'll get that back. If
All right.
we can present it that way, Ken, and if we need to have a conversation with Eric, I'm willing to do so. We can present it that way and say, look, we've got to go this way.
Yeah.
We need to take care of this. Let's move it down the road a year.
Okay. All right, so why don't we look at it? Sounds like the consensus is see how much we can glean out of other capital plan projects to limit the fund balance draw. As long as we can limit it to 200 or less, cop it together that way. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
And I will.
Legislator Truckin, that way?
Sure, I will be in touch with you on Thursday when
What time's that meeting?
It's, their meeting starts at 9:30.
Oh, good, so it won't ruin my dinner.
After
I'm only kidding.
that meeting is concluded, I'll be in
Okay.
touch with you.
Sounds good.
What direction.
As soon as I hear that, I'll let, Ken know where we stand. Everybody knows what they're gonna eventually see on a potential resolution now, right? Some combo of money sources towards this 830. And hopefully not have to borrow a dime, so, okay. Yes, Legislator Hedwell?
Jeff, one of the discussions at the meeting with capital plans, one of them was, that I brought up was, with the locks, and I knew you had the showers. Is it more feasible to do each pod like in a yearly, or do 2 pods one, my thought was, is just, if you could go in and do 1 pod or 2 pods completely over, do the locks, the showers, everything that you need to do, and maybe come up with a 4-year plan or a 5-year plan, would that be something that would be more feasible than just going and doing all the locks this year? I mean, that was one of the things that was talked about, because, you and I have talked before, that here's a facility that runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If we needed to work on the heating system to do, where one is shut down for a month, 1 pod shut down for a time period, where you could do something like that. I don't know if that is more feasible than trying to do something this massive or not, or if it's more time sensitive that we have 6 months to get all the showers done or not. But
I would have to talk to a contractor, because when you're talking about the locking mechanisms and things, it would depend on if what could be operated from the central control unit. So if they could manage it individually, that's doable, but if they can't, then that makes it a more complex issue. And the difficult part with the showers is, we're going to have to find the room to move incarcerated individuals around within the facility to make that happen. So none of it is gonna be an easy task, to be honest with you.
And that was my one thought, was if we just kind of worked on one pod, then you're just moving those out. Because when you start working on locks in all the pods, it becomes just one big.
Yes. If we're moving forward with a project at some point in time, and we have a contractor identified, I could get all those questions answered. Because it certainly makes sense to be able to do it that way, divide it up, and get it accomplished over a 3 or 4 year period.
Is it feasible to shut a pod down?
It's feasible, but there's a cost to it, because
Less
you're
inmates?
gonna lose,
Inmates.
revenue.
So I guess you have to weigh out the cost, benefit. It's gonna-
Regardless, doing the work on the showers, we have to, the state has not given us an option.
How many showers are there?
What is that?
All in one location, or?
Spread out through the facility, the housing units.
All right, anything else,
Yes.
Legislator Hippo?
Pete, with the, where are we with the restructuring of the DSS and the public health? The reason I ask this question is because if we aren't going to move forward with this restructuring, or we're not gonna do anything with it, I know that the person that's like second in charge under Matt is looking to retire for the second time, or be moving, and things are happening there. But if we're not gonna do anything like that, I know that, that facility is quite jam-packed. If we're not gonna do anything with both those departments together, then do we look at moving one of those departments back up here? Where, I'm just, because to have everybody in one area, because we were going to consolidate, but if we're not gonna consolidate, what's the sense of having everybody under one roof, stuck like sardines? And we all know that it's not it's a tight facility, parking and everything else down there. I'm just, I don't want to have this conversation in October, November, and say, where we going,
I would add that I don't know what your all plan was really when you established this and these positions. I kind of have a feeling that what you wanted to do. I haven't had any active talk about restructuring or any of that type of thing, but it's something that if it's still on the table, then we should talk about. But I have not entered into any type of talks about moving people anywhere or any type of restructuring of these departments. I don't know what your intent was early on.
It wasn't our intent, it was from.
Yeah, it wasn't us, it was the prior administration. The idea was that eventually, the Commissioner of Health and Human Services would be, everything would fold under that position, as it most likely does in other applications around the state and other counties, but that's what we were talking about.
And that was the whole purpose of having everybody in one building versus having two entities in one building just for, that's the way it's going now. It looks like we just have two units there, just two separate, where it was supposed to be one overseer and then that way. But again, before long, DSS is gonna run out of room or something's gonna happen, and then what are we gonna do? If it's not gonna be under one umbrella, there's no sense keeping everybody there. You better look at doing something that's feasible, whatever direction we're gonna go, but there's no sense. We talked about a position with, earlier this budget time, and Martin said, well, we shouldn't do anything with that position until we look at what we're doing with this restructuring, but if we're not doing restructuring, but I think that it's the time to have those talks to figure out what direction we're gonna go, And I mean, talk to, the DSS commissioner, and I mean, he's gonna tell you that, you know, it's cramped, you're not cramped, but it's a full venue down there, and if we have to go bigger, he's gonna run out of room, and then what are we gonna do? So, I mean, there's a lot of decisions that need to be made, and some of them aren't gonna be, you know, happy decisions on what goes, and, you know, and I know that when I said about moving someone back up here, you kind of rolled your eyes and said, you know, but maybe it was a short term down there and back, but what's best for what is gonna be the best for the citizens of Montgomery County servicing the county?
I hate to make a step back though, you know, moving someone back into these quarters down in the floodplain when we've successfully.
No, we have a whole empty, I'm not saying we're back, we have a whole empty building up here.
Yeah.
We can really do over and do things here.
Right.
Not moving back to where they were, but going back, I mean, we need to, and I mean, in this building here, like we said before, it's a service building, and we have another, how many more miles that way where people are coming for services, so I mean,
Yeah, a whole bunch of miles that way. Okay,
you know.
I'll think about it and we can all talk and see what direction we want to move forward on that.
Okay.
Chair, I just have an FYI for you.
Yes.
The resolution on the Farmland Protection Reserve Fund is number 260 of 2025, if
Okay.
you want to refer to that.
Yeah, you know, to be honest with you, my opinion on that is this, you know, and it's only my opinion. I was willing to fund it for a year, you know? This idea of funding it $1 million over the next 5 years when budget was tight, and especially under the auspices that it was presented to us, which is, this is a replenishing fund, which we just heard tonight really isn't the case. You know what I mean? It's not a revolving loan fund, and it looks like, you know, Mr. Nellis had wonderful ideas to how to use this money, but it wasn't really the original intent.
There's no replenishment.
Yeah, you know, so, at the very least, I had Megan, do a mock, you know, resolution, and all it really did was, and I was gonna hold it off until March, when I was here again, was say, okay, we'll give, and by the way, the treasurer told me he can do an entry on the resolution that funds the $250 out of sales tax. It doesn't have to come out of fund balance. Because when we were monkeying with the budget, we could have jacked sales tax up $250 to offset this expense. So, anyway, but the main premise of it was just to say, we're gonna do it, but we're gonna do it for a year and look at it annually at the very least. So that, see how much money comes back in from, you know, and, you know, if we don't have to fund the $250 a year, we shouldn't have to, you know, but, you know.
The financial impact says this fund will be funded each year through chargeback fees.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead, legislator Muehlbeck.
I've worked, coincided with our assessor in the town of Canterbury. Clawbacks can be done. We have done them. We clawed back probably about, you know, $35,000 over the last 2.5 years. It doesn't seem like a lot of money, but it is a lot of money. But the problem is according to Mr. Nellis, you need to have that participation from all of the towns for this to work, if we're going to fund it with clawbacks. And there are townships out there that they're just not gonna do it because it's the assessor who may choose to say it's too much work for me to do that. What they don't
I think that's
understand-
happened already. yeah.
And it has, and I know the assessor that, it happened to be the town of Canterbury assessor who Corey was going to hire, who did a lot of work in getting clawbacks, working with the town of Florida, who also participated in it. The problem is if you don't have that participation, that $250,000 is gonna come from us every single year. You've gotta have that clawback program actually functioning like a well-oiled machine.
On all cylinders.
On
with
all
every-
cylinders. And as Martin stated, you have the potential of that actually being a cash flow coming back of potentially more than 250, upwards of $500, $1 million, where you're getting that revenue back into the county, because it does come back to real property. the hard part is for the towns, they don't see a lot of that back.
Right.
So there's a lot of work being expended by the town assessor. They're not getting a real impact back to them, so the supervisor may not be fully on board.
Yes.
So that's something that needs to be discussed of how we get more interaction there.
Counselor?
So we had a meeting on this in the fall, a couple months ago, with economic development, real property, myself, the county exec.
Before the resolution was drawn, right?
I actually don't know.
Yes.
No, I'm talking about something else.
Oh, okay, okay.
So, we had a meeting with town supervisors to discuss this clawback issue and talk about the concerns, and real property had the numbers of the revenue, the tax revenue the county is missing out on because of things not being properly documented. Went through, some of the hurdles we're facing and explained some of the resources that Mr. Nellis was talking about, such as the additional staffer to help do some of this paperwork and do some of the legwork on it, so it's not all on the town assessors. And that meeting was pretty successful, and we've had some good feedback from them, and so the conversations are helping, and it is communication thing. So just put that out there, that is something that the county officials have been working on to try and work with the towns and try to explain this issue and see what we can do to collaborate.
So they're gonna see that it's gonna be beneficial to them to keep solar out of their areas, if they so want, by having, or helping their assessors move clawbacks.
We're trying to at least make assessors aware that of the taxing issues that occur when property is no longer being used as farmland, for whatever reason.
Yep.
Solar or developments or businesses, there's a number of issues where these just haven't been recorded.
Even just residential.
Right, subdivisions and
Yeah.
stuff. So they're like, it's across the board. So the discussions we've had so far have been good. I anticipate they'll probably continue.
Good.
And we are hoping to have revenue coming in.
Just how much, you can't probably put a finger on.
That's the issue, is the treasurer has no way to really track it.
Right.
So that's another thing too.
But I think the intent too, Chair, and for the board, is when we got into it, we were looking at two potential revenue streams. Obviously, the clawbacks was one of the revenue streams, but when you take agricultural property out of ag production, you convert it to solar. There's gonna be a difference as what you're generating taxes on the ag parcel compared to what you're generating in solar, and it's gonna be more. So I mean, I think we were looking at, taking some of those dollars potentially and showing, justify this fund. And I think that's what Legislature Kelly was looking at the time too, is we're gonna be recouping, on a county standpoint, as county tax dollars, a heck of a lot more tax revenue when these get converted over to solar. So I think 250 is small. So the revenue's coming in because of solar. So I mean, it was really twofold, not just the clawbacks, but the ongoing revenue that we're receiving from taking it from ag to.
Putting it on a regular tax roll.
But
Yeah.
that
Well,
only works.
what they're doing is they're suffixing them out. So
Right.
if you have solar just on a portion of a parcel, instead of that parcel being subdivided, because a lot of these are leased lands. So what the assessors are doing, and what they've been very good at doing, a lot of them are starting to suffix these out, like in the town of Florida, a lot of those are suffixed out, so they're being assessed differently than the main parcel, which is still agricultural and residential.
Yeah.
So there's a difference of assessment increasing the tax revenue because there is solar, so taking some of those dollars and putting it into a fund like this to prop up the ag industry. So that's the intent, it's a twofold revenue source.
In your mind's eye though, Ken, I mean, it seems like the principles are very sound, but the dollars behind them are nowhere near what it takes to replenish this fund on an annual basis.
The dollars behind it, if you take the increase in tax revenue because of solar in the county, definitely can replace the 250. The concern I think that we have as a group, and I think Corey and even Legislator Kelly would say, is that 250 is not enough to make a true difference in trying to keep these, trying to entice somebody to keep their lands in agriculture instead of convert it over to solar. 250 just is, it's nothing.
Yeah.
My only concern is with the state of New York energy right now, and green energy, there's no guarantee as to what the tax rates are going to be that the counties are going to actually be able to recoup on those parcels, let alone the towns. So
Right.
we're kind of, we're putting the cart before the horse, expecting that New York State isn't gonna go ahead and say, nope, New York State Energy and Gas is going to take over this, there's gonna be no taxable revenue coming off that property. You're gonna get your agricultural tax, and that's it. And if that happens, that money that potentially we could see, and you're correct, if they allow us to assess it and tax it the way that it should be done as compared to the way that it's being proposed, if what's being proposed, all that money goes away. So it's a slippery slope trying to figure out what that looks like.
All right, well, we do have time to ruminate it. I don't think we're gonna look at it until March as a resolution. So we've had some good dialogue here about it, and we got a better grasp on, you know, based on what Mr. Nellis told us and our dialogue. So, you know, maybe by then we'll, you know, be able to make a better decision on it, so. All right, anything else anybody want to discuss? Hearing none, a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, we got legislators Flint, Kowalczyk, and Pollock, the Polish connection.
I've never heard my name called in such a short time.
Polish.